You ever make a promise to yourself and quit 3 days later? Like really quit, no excuses, no explanations, just done. Maybe you told yourself this is the year you finally get in shape. Bought that gym membership, used it twice, and now it's just another monthly charge on your credit card you pretend not to see. Or maybe you were gonna read more, so you ordered a stack of books off Amazon. And now they're just sitting there collecting dust on your nightstand like some kind of expensive decoration. Here's the brutal part. Maybe you've set the exact same goal 5 years running, and every single year it ends the same way. Disappointment, excuses, and that familiar voice in your head whispering, "You're just not that person." If that hits too close to home, if you're exhausted from big talk and zero results, then what I'm about to tell you will completely rewire how you think about change forever. Because there was this guy who tried to reinvent his entire existence in 7 days. Crashed and burned hard, until he stumbled onto one ridiculously simple principle that flipped everything. You don't need to transform your whole life, you just need to get 1% better. Stick with me on this. David was 32, sharp as hell, working as an accountant in some cookie-cutter apartment on the 7th floor of a building that looked like every other building in the city. Smart guy, worked hard, but absolutely drowning in frustration, not because he was lazy, but because every time he tried to level up his life, he failed in the exact same predictable way. Every January 1st, David would wake up with this fire burning in his chest, right? He'd tell himself, "This is my year," and he'd write out this crazy ambitious list. Exercise every single day for an hour minimum, read 50 pages before bed, learn Spanish for 45 minutes. Wake up at 5 a.m., eat nothing but healthy food, meditate for 30 minutes daily. For 3 days, he'd crush it. He'd feel unstoppable. His co-workers would notice and ask David, "What's going on with you?" And he'd flash this confident smile and say, "I'm becoming the best version of myself." But then day 4 hit, and his body was screaming from all that exercise. Day 5, he was a zombie from those 5 a.m. wake-ups. Day 6, he'd skip one habit, then another. By week 2, he was right back where he started, except now he felt even worse, not just because he'd failed, but because he'd proven to himself once again that he just couldn't change. His younger sister Emma would come over and see all the evidence, the unused gym equipment in the corner, the untouched Spanish textbook, the meditation cushion still in its Amazon box. She'd ask him gently, "David, why do you keep doing this to yourself? Why not just start smaller?" But David would shake his head like she didn't get it. "Emma, small changes don't matter. If I'm gonna change, I need to change everything. All or nothing." What David didn't realize was that his all-or-nothing mentality was exactly what kept him trapped. He'd run this exact same pattern 12 times over 6 years. 12 New Year's resolutions, 12 spectacular failures, 12 cycles of hope turning into shame. Late at night he'd stare at his reflection in the bathroom mirror and whisper, "What if I'm just not the kind of person who can change?" Then one fall evening, David got an invitation that made his stomach drop. His 10-year college reunion. He almost didn't go. But something pushed him to walk into that hotel ballroom, carrying a decade's worth of broken promises on his shoulders. And there they all were, his former classmates. Some had launched successful companies. Others had backpacked through 30 countries. One guy had published an actual book. Another had completed 3 marathons. David stood in the corner, clutching a glass of water, answering the same question on repeat. "So David, what have you been up to?" He'd force this weak smile and say, "Oh, working, staying busy." But inside his head was screaming, I've been trying to change for 10 years, and I am exactly where I started." Then he spotted Marcus. Marcus had been the laziest kid in their entire class, showed up late to every lecture, barely scraped by on exams, zero visible ambition. But now Marcus looked completely different, healthy, confident, energized. David couldn't help himself. "Marcus, you look incredible, man. What happened?" Marcus smiled. I started getting 1% better every day, David frowned. 1%? That's nothing. That wouldn't change anything. Marcus's smile got bigger. That's exactly what I thought too, until someone showed me the math. Before David could respond, Marcus handed him a business card. There's someone I want you to meet, Coach Helen. She changed my life. If you're tired of feeling stuck, go see her. Tell her I sent you. That night, David lay in bed staring at that card. Part of him wanted to toss it in the trash, another false hope, another disappointment waiting to happen. But this quieter voice whispered, what if this time is different? Next morning, he made the call. Coach Helen's office wasn't what David expected. No cheesy motivational posters, no hustle harder slogans plastered everywhere. Just a simple desk, 2 chairs, and a whiteboard. Helen was probably in her 50s, had these kind eyes and this calm energy that made you feel like she actually gave a damn. She listened while David explained his whole pattern. Big goals, brief success, inevitable failure, crushing shame. When he finished, she nodded slowly. David, you're not lazy. You're not weak. You're just using the wrong strategy. She walked over to the whiteboard and drew a simple chart. Let me show you something that'll change how you see improvement forever. She wrote 1.01 to the power of 365 equals 37.8. Then underneath, 0.99 to the power of 365 equals 0.03. David stared at it, confused. I don't understand, Helen smiled. If you get 1% better every single day for 1 year, you don't improve by 1%. You don't even improve by 365%. You improve by 3,700%. You become 37 times better. She tapped the board. But if you get 1% worse every day, skipping workouts, eating garbage, wasting time, you don't decline by 1%. You decline by 97%. You almost disappear. David felt something click in his brain. The difference between who you are and who you could be isn't one giant leap. It's 365 tiny steps. Helen sat back down. David, you keep trying to run a marathon when you've never even jogged around the block. Your goals aren't the problem, your approach is. She pulled out a simple notebook. Here's what I want you to do. Forget everything on your list except one habit. Just one. What's the smallest version of the change you want? David thought for a second. I want to exercise. Smaller. I want to jog. Smaller. David paused. I want to put on running shoes. Helen smiled. Perfect. For the next week, every morning, you're gonna put on your running shoes. That's it. You don't have to run. You don't have to go outside. Just put on the shoes. David almost laughed. That's ridiculous. That won't accomplish anything. Helen's expression got serious. David, you've been trying to become a different person overnight. That's why you always fail. Identity change doesn't happen in one day. It happens through repetition of tiny behaviors. She leaned forward. You don't need to be the person who runs 5 miles. You need to become the person who puts on running shoes, because once you're that person, running becomes inevitable. 1 week, 7 days. Put on running shoes every morning. Nothing more. Can you do that? David felt something weird, hope without pressure. This goal wasn't intimidating. It was almost embarrassingly small. Yeah, he said. I can do that. Helen wrote in her notebook. Good, because small changes seem like they don't matter until they compound. That's when everything changes. Next morning, David set his alarm. When it rang, he didn't leap out of bed all pumped up. He felt nothing, but he'd made a promise. He put on his running shoes, then sat on the couch and drank his coffee. That was day 1. Day 2, put on running shoes, sat on the couch. Day 3, put on running shoes, walked to the door, went back inside. His sister Emma came by on day 4. David, are you going running? Nope, he said, lacing up his shoes. I'm just putting on my shoes. She looked confused, but David didn't explain. Day 5, Put on running shoes, walked outside, stood on the sidewalk for 30 seconds, went back inside. On day 6, something weird happened. David put on his shoes, walked outside, and his legs just started moving, not because he forced himself, but because standing still felt awkward now. He jogged for 2 minutes, walked back, took off his shoes. He'd actually run. Week 2, Coach Helen asked, "How's it going?" "I've put on my shoes every day. Sometimes I run now." "Not long, just a little." "Perfect," she said. "Don't add anything yet. Just keep this one habit." Weeks passed. The pattern became automatic. Shoes on, door open, feet moving. 5 minutes became 10. 10 became 15. 1 month in, David's coworker asked, "Are you a runner now?" David paused. Was he? He still only ran 15 minutes. That wasn't much. But then he realized he'd run 28 days straight. He'd never done anything for 28 days straight in his entire life. "Yeah," he said, surprising himself. "I guess I am." That's when Coach Helen added the second habit. You're a runner now. Your identity has changed. What's the next 1%? David chose reading